Hang on.
Let me turn the music on.
Show number.
Start. Are we live?
We're live.
Okay, hang on a second.
Are we not going to have disco music?
I had to turn the music down a little bit. Okay, I'm back.
Show number 839.
What the hell?
Do you have to check every time, or are you just like that good?
Because we always say we never know.
We thought we were in the 700s, and it turned out we were in the 800s. Yeah. So we don't really pay attention. But
returning. Returning to the show.
How many times have you been on the show, Josh Loya?
I think this is number 4.
I don't know. I got some good we have some. I've got some good old photos of you in the KSCO.
Or that one at the Lane too, or was that a Sentinel?
Well, that was
Sentinel.
That was him. He was a
mini-me.
Baby guy.
He was a baby.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're back at the Off the Lip Radio Show live.
But he does comment
on the
freely
show?
with comments on some of the shows. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You know, like.
I like it when Stretch is on here. Oh, he's a good one to.
Yeah.
So Stretch, what are you drinking?
Yeah. His cup's this tall. Well, Stretch is far out, man. That's what's great about having Stretch on the show.
What's fine is walking in there to ask him.
To be on the show?
Makes me beg.
Yeah.
He knows why I'm there. I walk in every year. Every year I'm there. I'm okay. You know why I'm here? Well,
Does he ignore you for about 15 minutes?
No, yeah, exactly.
Lights another cigar.
Yeah. Then he finally, he knows you're there the whole time. Then he surprised. He's teasing.
What the fuck are you here for? You know why I'm here.
Oh man.
And he said, well, I'm going to talk about this. Well, okay, what do you want to talk about? Politics. Well, here we go.
The Stretch shows are on our website. So if anyone wants to go back, you can go to Off Lip Radio.
The first one with him was absolutely horrific. Remember
how about the one where he brought the board?
With the poster board.
Oh yeah.
He
showed up with a whiteboard.
It was 4 feet long with the history of the United States of America. How it should have been.
God.
The history of the United States of America according to Stretch.
All right.
It's
insane. No, he was dead serious. He would go. He went off, but fine. I go. I couldn't take it anymore. I go, fuck. What are you talking about?
Well, you've heard all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a boat with Stretch? Like been in a boat and like just you're stuck with him?
Rat Boy and I took him out years and years ago. Salmon fishing is like wide open bite. And we took him out and.
How far did you get? Like 50 yards? So he made a U-turn.
No, he actually did all right. He was super into it, and what were we doing? We had fly rods.
Oh.
Put them on downrigger with like a lefty deceiver, and he caught a fish, caught another fish, and like Rat or whoever netted the thing, and we like looked at his hand, and he had just going to town and just like ate his fingers up.
No.
He can't really, his right hand, he can't feel it, right?
Right.
So he's got little
damage.
He's got a lot of nerve damage.
Yeah.
But he was just going and going, but he wasn't realizing he was cheese gratering his hand.
On the side of the reel?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
got it.
So at the end, it was just like, it was cool. He's like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'll go to Alaska and do my thing, but no more boat.
He likes fishing.
Yeah, he's into it.
Yeah, he's into it.
Super into it.
He was super into it. He had his pond. He still have his pond?
He still has a pond. There's no fish in there. So now, like,
Did they take the water out? Did the water?
I think he said, did it drain or something? Something was going on with it, yeah.
There's all kinds of things. So, Fish and Game came, and they saw that they were drawing water from the east branch of the Soquel River, Soquel Creek. It goes through a pipe into the lake, over a spillway, and back into the creek. So Fish and Game was like, you can't have that. Stretch told him, well, we've got a permit for it. They said, well, let me see it. So he dug around. The owner dug around. Finally, Fish and Game was like, all right, yeah, no, we can't have that. So he had to drain the water and clog up the pipe. So they did that. The fish, the water went down. All the fish that he had in there, which is like a triploid, which is like a hybrid trout species that get really big, really quick. Basically like a steelhead, landlocked steelhead almost.
Wow.
So the water level went down, all the fish died, and like literally like within weeks, Stretch found the paperwork. He's like, here you go, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. Well, I guess you could put the pipe back in.
Oh,
And that was it.
wow.
And after that, he's just like,
Yeah. So he had water come from the creek into the pond,
and then back into the creek. Yeah. So there was like they was borrowing water for about 300 yards.
Right.
In on the top and then back in down below.
Boy, I bet those fish love that nutrient.
Yeah,
water.
they would hang out like in the summertime when the water would warm up. They'd hang out right there where the pipe came in.
Yeah.
All the cool water.
Stretch, no.
Stretch is amazing. And how many stretch surfboards have you had in your life?
At least 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I would think. I don't know. I've been riding his board since
a long time.
1989 was the first board that I got from him.
Wow. That's a lot. And do you still have a favorite that you like?
I've got
stashed?
I've actually have like two boards that one was built in 2005 and the other one was built in 2006, and I still ride the 2006 one.
Really?
It's
2006. That's a whole board.
it's getting on
17 years now.
yeah. And it's still magic. It just,
What's different about his boards than anybody else's? Right?
They smell like cigars. I don't know. I don't know. I just like I've literally ridden like one board. I got a HIC that I got from Adam Rapogle that I rode for a little bit, but secretly when I was going to Japan a bunch, surfing the QS contest over there. I had this HIC that I got from Adam. I took over there and rode for a couple of trips. And I actually went on a photo trip to Bali, the first trip that I ever went on to Bali. I got a bunch of photos in the Japanese magazine on that board, so I couldn't show Stretch the article.
Oh.
What do you think you do? What do you think you do?
I don't know. He would probably make a stink, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Back then that was like in 92 or 93. So it was kind of early in the game. He didn't have a whole lot of guys riding his boards. He was trying to like get me like, you got to get people like, get people interested in my boards in other places. And I would try and it just never worked out. Now he's got like a distributor in Japan. He's got one in Australia, Brazil, Portugal.
Yeah.
He's all over the place now.
Yeah.
No,
He deserves it.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Well, he works a lot and like works really hard.
Yeah, he works hard.
It's hard for like a small shaping company, small surfboard company to like really make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and there's only
you see like Jamie O'Brien riding them and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
I trip out on that when I see it. I'm like, wow, Stretch.
Yeah, and that's cool. Like I think that's important. He's never, he had like Wiggly Dantas was riding his boards on tour for a little bit. So he's had like some brushes with, big name guys. I mean, Bruce Irons was riding his boards, Nathan Fletcher, obviously, but more, those guys are mainstream, but like these days, it's kind of a hard one to call whether like kids are more into like the free surf Jamie O'Brien guys or the like John World Tour guys. Like in times past, it would be like the free surf guys for sure, but now it's like everything's so like jocked out, kids with trainers and coaches and the whole industry's different.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting now on the tour, there's a shaper category now.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, so you get there's a
points for shapers based on how their team does. And there'll be a shaper champion as well.
That's cool.
Which is pretty interesting, and so that I think can influence kids.
Totally.
I think that will ultimately you'll see like a Lost, or somebody that will come out really accelerate.
For sure.
Sales.
And I think that's pretty cool too, because it like goes back to involving the shaper, who's like the ghost in the whole equation. The guy that's to get the least amount of like clout and like hype out of the whole thing.
Also, too, it's so interesting because boards have names now. It used to be that's a 5'10", it's 18 and a half.
Right now, it's got a name to it.
Whatever it was back then. Now it's like
now it's a hybrid something.
Well, it has a name.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the furry plank, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's so
And
funny.
I think didn't Channel Islands was kind of the guys who started that whole thing.
They did.
Like the dumpster diver,
Right,
and there was
exactly.
like a couple of boards in the beginning to where.
And it makes sense because boards are coming off of machines now. We're replicating them, so you can replicate that shape so easily.
Yeah, and all it takes is like a little bit of computer tweaking, and you can like make that board flow into almost any other board.
Is Stretch using machines?
Yeah.
He is. Yeah. Okay.
It's very few people aren't. If you're doing production numbers,
I just see him in his room. Every time I go in there, I see him.
Well, it's probably a better replication because historically, shapers had their ghost shapers, the Mark Goins of the world.
Yeah.
And those boards, you try to get them as close to what the actual shaper envisions of that shape. But you can't replicate it when someone else is doing it.
Especially if you get a magic board before Stretch, I was riding Bob Pearson's boards, so I'd get a board that worked really good, and I'd take it to Bob and be like, "Oh yeah, we need to make this thing," and like Tony Mikas would shape it or something. He was like, "Wait, what?" Or like Ward Coffee, Ward Coffee, or Steve Coletta, or Doug Banks. They had like 5 or 6 different Go shapers. So it was like, well, who made that board? You need to talk to them. Well, I don't know. You sign, Bob would sign it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. Like he wouldn't take notes of who actually shaped it. So it's hard to get that in front, that blank in front of the guy that actually made it.
And that's what's cool about the machines, in a sense, is that you're getting closer to what the shaper envisions.
Yeah, for sure. And the ironically, like to get I had that board that I was talking about, the one that was made in 2006. So I rode that board in the cold water and made the final, and I was old. I was like 37 or something, and I was like, that's pretty cool. That was a year Jordy Smith won and qualified on tour, and Jordy was 17 and I was 37, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like I could be your dad easily, and I'm in the final with you. And I remember going through rounds in the contest, and I had 3 different heats with him, and he was super competitive, uber competitive with me, because he was just like, who is this guy? He's a local guy. I'm gonna sit on him. I'm gonna do every wave that he's gonna try to catch. That's the one that I need to catch. And at some point, I was like, dude, just go. Just go. This is the wave that I want, so obviously it's the one that you want. Go ahead and let's see what happens. And he would just barely beat me heat after heat. So it was frustrating, but at the same time it was I had his number, and being older dude, he still was clawing at me. I remember there's a heat where I think Ratboy was in the heat, and it was a semifinal, I think, and I got a 9.25, and I rode the wave and paddled back out, and everyone was freaking out, yelling and screaming. And he's like, "What'd you get?" I'm like, "I don't know, a 9 something." And he just got this look not cool. And then he got just enough to beat me, and then we end up in the final. So it
was that 20 years after your first cold water?
At least. I mean, the first cold water I think was in 80.
For you?
87, I think. Yeah.
So
how old were you then?
18.
Yeah. So a 20-year cold water
veteran.
You missed a few, I know, during that time.
Yeah.
But to come back 20 years later and make a final.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I actually made 2 finals in a row,
Wow.
2005 and then 2006, which is kind of cool.
Was that fun for you? Was that a fun contest?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It was cool to the 2005. I won 13 heats in a row until the final. I started in the trials and won every single heat till the very final. And I got 4th, and I'm like, that sucks.
So let's so like the golf senior tour. If there was a senior contest, would you do it?
I would, but God, I surf so infrequently now.
Yeah.
I've been surfing more in the last 2 weeks.
That would be kind of cool.
But they do have a Masters.
Oh, they do?
It's not a tour, but they have a contest that they just had, and maybe Dominican Republic or TR was there. TR's.
Oh yeah,
does it
TR.
all.
Yeah,
he's all into it.
Yeah, he's into it.
And
He's
he's
ripping.
He surfs really good for his age.
Yeah.
He's like really good.
Well, they did a Legends thing because I saw that like Aki did it.
Yeah,
was that Australia, I believe, but they still. I mean, I could see Coldwater doing like a Legends thing.
That would be cool.
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
And they could have like all the I don't know, basically any champion or anybody that's like wants to do it.
Well, what's cool too is a lot of the top players historically that are local have been O'Neill riders as well. If you think of the Roof and the Day and
Push,
Bad
Juice,
Boy and AR,
Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran. I mean, you could really have like an incredible people who have had great showings at Coldwater.
Yeah.
And it's great
Well,
to see
it's unique because that wave is such a weird wave to ride. You have like someone like Kelly Slater when they had the tour event here. He's just like, I hate that fucking wave. I hate it.
He avoids it.
Yeah, no, he won't surf out there unless he has to. And like, and then you have somebody like, someone that's far less of a good surfer that like knows where to sit and what waves to go on and like how to like avoid the table rock bump and can light it up.
Recently heard there's a giant new crack at the slot.
Another one?
Yeah, a new big one. Yeah,
a new big one.
So where that piece fell off last year, right? Right where that one is, there is a big like fissure that like is hanging out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
But that'll definitely change it. I've only surfed the lane like 2 times since that piece of rock fell off. And when I surfed it, it was big enough that it was like you're not sitting right by the cliff. I haven't, not like a summertime south swell. I'm like busy fishing, trying to make $1. So it's like I just rarely surf high tide south swell anymore. It's just not fun with the crowd and like kind of have to surf all the time to be comfortable to take off in front of the cliff.
Absolutely. Gosh. I mean, we've seen historically what happens when you don't.
You had it when you surfed it when it was best. Back in the day when it was not so many.
Well, I mean, pretty much everybody says that about their generation when they started. In the 70s it was better, and then in the 80s or the 90s, and like everybody looks back at their youth and goes, "That's when it was good," because that's what they remember. It was less of a crowd.
It always seems less crowded when you're a kid,
Totally, because you're getting scraps anyway. So like it's always uncrowded if you're sitting on the inside and like all the waves that no one else wants. Those are the ones you get. Well, there's no crowd.
I feel like that. I mean, you a product of the '80s. I'm a product of the '80s. There wasn't as many longboards in the '80s. They were basically like all lane and backyards then, pre-wing nut.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of was a different vibe. Like Second Peak was not a longboard spot at Pleasure Point then.
Right.
That was like the lesser grade of shortboarders.
Exactly.
And it was like went all the way up to like Sewer Peak. Those were all like the old grumpy dudes that still rode shortboards.
Exactly.
Except for a couple of like
Quigley was a kneeboarder.
And there was like one other kneeboarder or something.
Yeah, Dale Manns.
Yeah.
But it was different. So you had the big dudes out at Sewer Peak, the
Marcells and the teenager guys that were like the rippers.
And then basically, if you were kind of an outsider, Second Peak was your spot. And there was maybe one guy on a longboard out there then. Now there's 100. It was a different time.
Yeah.
And how did you get so good at surfing? You just surfed every day because you progressed.
I don't know. I just think like then that's like all that I had really. Like I came from a family that didn't have a bunch of money or hardly any money, so it was like that was my outlet to something that I could do as long as I had a wetsuit and a surfboard and a bike to get there. That was like kind of what I picked.
Who pushed you into your first wave?
I don't think anyone did.
Right.
No, I think like the first time I stood up was in Capitola, and I was like I was in kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And,
it's awesome. Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a yard sale, garage sale find, like some weird single fin that was like, it was a...
You found it?
No, like my mom did, or mom's boyfriend or something. Yeah. It was like something that like, it's cheap, we'll buy it. Like your kids could paddle around at the lake or something. And I was just like, I already knew, like I wanted to surf. So when my mom graduated from high school.
Which one?
She went to Bury. She grew up in South San Francisco.
Okay.
So when she graduated from high school and all of her and her girlfriends had got their driver's license, South San Francisco is like greaser, like hot rod, not surfer,
Yeah. Yeah.
area. So her and her girlfriend started driving over the hill and like hanging out in Pacifica. And like they'd go over there and they're like, oh, it was a whole new world for them. There's like cute surf dudes.
Yeah.
Like everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it went from greasers and cigarettes and hot rods to like surf dudes in
Yeah, to
Pacifica
the Beach Boys.
over the hill.
Yeah.
So they ended up like meeting Dick Keating. So my mom kind of like, I don't know, I never got the real story. I think they hooked up for sure. But I don't know. But she had a picture of Dick Keating surfing that I basically saw the picture. And this was, years and years later. So I saw this picture and that right then I'm like, I want to be a surfer. That was it.
From that photo?
From the photo.
Wow.
So years later, I ended up we would stop at Dick's house anytime we were driving by. So Dick was married, had kids. My mom would show up and knock on the door, and his new wife would be like, "What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, get out of here."
Yeah.
And if Dick was there, if he wasn't fishing or surfing, it was like, "Hey, Bonnie, oh yeah, how's it going?" And they'd reminisce and whatever, and then we'd get back in the car and drive back to Santa Cruz on our way. So years later, doing amateur contests up there, I would start seeing him, and I kind of like, oh, that's Dick, So we kind of started a rapport. So then by the time the Mavericks event started happening, he would come to all those, and we'd chum it up and talk, and it's kind of a cool thing. So
the legend of Pacifica.
Totally,
Dick's
totally,
the man.
yeah. So there's a couple of guys,
Which is a crappy place to surf. I mean, the surf there is just...
It's pretty bad.
They had a
Bad.
skiff, launched a skiff
Yeah,
off the
but
beach,
they had,
they had a good setup.
Super unique setup.
Yeah, it was great. He lived on the beach. His house was on the beach.
Yeah.
That's
so,
cool.
So years later, it turns out all the Half Moon Bay guys, the Matt Ambrose and that whole group of guys, they had all these rumors going that he was my illegitimate dad. Right? I was you're Dick Keating's son. I'm like, no, and they're like, that's what we heard. I'm like, you guys have been thinking that for this whole time? And they're like, dude, everyone says that. And I'm like, get out of here.
Oh my
I would have been cool, but no, definitely not.
Have you done a DNA test?
No, I came about a lot later than that whole high school thing, but yeah.
It's funny. That's funny to think about that.
But it would be amazing if he did a 23andMe, and it's like, oh my God,
Points-
Patty!
Yeah.
So yeah, I just recently, I was wondering where that photo went, because I had that thing till sometime in my teenage years. And then maybe just moving around from couch to couch as a teenager,
Yeah.
the picture went away, but I remember it was pretty cool. It was
That is really cool.
That's a great
Weird.
memory.
Yeah. While we're reminiscing, do you remember who gave you your first free surfboard? Your first sponsor me surfboard?
Jeff Scott.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I actually have a picture of it. I have a picture of Brian Kilpatrick and I in my backyard, and I was that was long before Astrodeck or anything, but I can't figure out what I was doing to it.
You put something on the tail?
No, I was doing something to the board, and I just looked at that picture recently, and I think I put it on Instagram actually.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh.
and Brian Kilpatrick's sitting there, and someone's like, "Yeah, look at BK's face; it's total surfboard envy." He was just looking
How old
at
were you
me.
in that picture?
It was junior high or something.
Junior high?
Yeah, and then I think after that, C-Trend. I was getting
Randy
boards
French.
I was getting them from Mark Goen.
Oh, okay.
But I had the O'Neill pink wetsuit during that whole time.
That was a
along with
good
everyone
times.
else. Yeah,
That was
cool.
Marcel wetsuit.
Well, Machado and Goen, they were my neighbor then, and I was so jealous of those C-Trends because Slack was doing those airbrushes on them. They had cool airbrushes, and
Right.
their wetsuits matched their surfboards. I was like, God, look at those guys. They're like rock stars. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was cool times.
C-Trend was a part of Santa Cruz that a lot of people don't know about. But it really, Randy's marketing. I remember the ad where he made it look like they were all criminals that ran, and they had mugshots. He did each team rider as a mugshot, and I thought that was so cool. You know,
Well, at that point, he was like, that was mainly like a sailboard company.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the surfing part was this kind of like a little side boogie that they had.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're really big. I mean,
well,
sailboarding was huge.
Back then, yeah. The
Windsurfing.
windsurfing,
yeah,
yeah.
no, so Randy made a lot of money, and that was Surf Tech, because he was molding
Yeah.
the windsurfers, and
Yeah.
he had used that technology to create Surf Tech. But yeah, it was a fun time during that C-Trend era, because there was a lot of good.
So
riders.
he's now one of our seasoned guests.
I know,
Did you
it's
think about
pretty
that?
funny. I don't know
Yeah.
if we've ever asked him
I don't
that.
think we've
And
ever
everyone
asked.
who knows.
We have a two-part question. We ask everybody who's got gray hair, and so that's you.
You're welcome.
You're
Welcome to the
you
club.
don't try and get it out
Hey,
of it.
there's a bunch of hair there.
You
Yeah,
are a
we
hair
got
farmer.
hair.
Good job,
So
Mom.
what was your favorite decade and why?
I think the 90s probably.
Yeah.
For
is
me,
that?
it was just like kind of the time where I actually was getting paid kind of, you know, fairly well and got to travel like way more than anybody deserves to.
Was that fun? A lot of people
It
say,
was.
a lot of athletes go to travel so hard.
I
but-
mean, there was points where, you know, I would like come home and I would, you know, have a couple of weeks to relax and hang out with friends and surf and fish and do like things that I really wanted to do.
yeah.
And then, you know, I'd be like, "Ooh," like back then it was like we didn't have cell phones and there was no like internet or emails. So
Right.
it was just like you get a call from someone at Billabong, like Paul Gomez would be like, "Hey, we want to go to Australia." Like, all right, and the tickets would actually come in the mail, like
Yeah.
a paper ticket in the
Yeah.
mail.
Yeah.
And it was just like a box of clothes would come. I would dump out the dirty ones out of the duffel bag, put all the brand new ones in there, and then get back on the road. And I'd be gone for 2 or 3 weeks. And, you know, it's just like constantly doing that.
What was your favorite place? I mean, I've got the second part of that question. What was your favorite place that you traveled to? And not necessarily for surfing.
I mean, I think South Africa was pretty good.
J-Bay?
J-Bay was rad. Yeah, like really good
Did you
waves.
get good J-Bay?
Yeah,
'Cause
really
like,
good.
I bet you that wave's made for you. Man.
Yeah, no, it was good, and like we got really good waves for the contest there for the QS, and then right after the QS they had a tour event, so we got to watch like Slater and all those guys surfing it, which was really cool. And that was like in '95 or something. So that was a good one. Just like the whole trip was good. I mean the dollar to rand ratio was insane.
Yeah. So you got what you got.
Steak dinners.
It was like every night, like
We're like
you know,
$5.
I
Yeah.
was 25. We were like partying like every night for like the whole time we were there. Every single night we were going out, which whatever, it was fun. So
Pre-surf coach.
yeah, no surf coach, none of that, no manager,
No chaperone.
nothing.
Yeah.
No, we were just like we were wild, and like the whole thing with us was like, at least for me, was like I was using the qualifying series as an excuse to go places. Once I'm there, okay, yeah, I'm going to try to win heats, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm going to go, as soon as I lose, I'm going to go shoot with this guy or that guy and, you know, try to like work that. So that we were like,
This photo incentive was a big part of your
it
salary.
was everything.
Yeah.
It was everything. It was like, they didn't care if we won an event. It was like, go and get the cover and like, you're good for a whole month, you know, until the next cover comes. If you go and win a contest, well, in a week and a half, there's another contest. Someone
Right.
else is going to
Yeah.
win. The
Oh,
cool
yeah.
thing is like if you go and you win, you know, make some prize money, you know, and then you kind of like, hey, it's still, you know, I made the quarterfinals in Australia. They're like, okay, cool, that was worth sending you, and you got some photos. Okay, well, let's just keep that ball rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it works out in the long run. You know, it's funny. We had Novak was on the show talking about Jason Jesse. When Jason Jesse would travel, he would sneak all of his clothes in other people's luggage so they'd carry his clothes and stuff. But when you traveled, was there anybody you remember that was like the worst practical joker in art to travel with?
Not really, but there is the same couple of people that were always just like losing their passport, or Barney was like notorious for that.
I can't even imagine.
He just like Flea. It was good because Flea and him were like best friends, and Flea was always the one that was babysitting Barney. Like, hey Barney lost all of his shit. You guys go on the flight without us. We'll try to meet up with you at the layover, or hopefully we'll make this flight. And you just be like, all right, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
And it was always that, or you always had like some far off land and Barney was having an episode or
and
whatever.
Flea would bring him home.
Flea would bring him home.
Yeah, no, I've heard a bunch of stories along those lines,
Yeah.
which is so awesome because, you're saying like we partied a lot on tour. Well, obviously, in hindsight, we know some took it too far.
Totally.
But it's awesome to see because Flea consistently did that for Barney. Mm-hmm. Which is really awesome.
And it didn't matter if it was like in Australia or South Africa or like on Dufour Street. It was like he was still there, like no matter where it was in the world, even if it was at home.
I thought our question is the best surfing day.
Well, that was the second part of the question.
We decided to change it to his traveling spot.
Well, we kind of.
Yeah.
No,
Is there a day in your life surfing that just stands out? Like if you were to talk about your best surf day?
I don't know, like I'm too old and they just melt together. But there's like a couple of like random places that like everything the stars aligned. More often at home than anywhere else because you have more chance, more time. I don't know. I think like I've had a couple of like crazy surfs at like random places like Sunset Beach. I always liked Sunset Beach because it was kind of like it was one of the random spots in Hawaii that you could magically have waves come to you. Where everywhere else it was just you're just a shit show fighting for like you're not going to get that wave at backdoor, not a chance. Yeah. Rocky Point, 100 guys all trying to get shots.
Bigger playing field.
Bigger playing field, and it was similar to like the raw kind of waves that we have here. It's
like a Scots or something.
It's like a Scots mixed with like Middle Peak, and it's like a wave that kind of like suited me. And it was cool. You'd have like days where like you'd get crazy waves and get a bunch of them and surf like in your head at least. You're surfing well and like getting barreled and like doing turns and no one would even notice. Because dude, like I didn't see you. I was like getting pounded.
100 yards outside or something.
Yeah, you're way too far off the beach for anyone on the beach to see it. And, like you're squinting out there and you're like I kind of got a good one. I couldn't even tell who it was, and it's like Kelly Slater. And you're like, he's so far away you can't tell the style.
It's funny when you get a bomb and nobody sees it.
Or just like 10 bombs in one day, and people are just like, I don't even notice you're out there. And you're like, cool, great.
Did you have a Hawaiian bro over there?
I stayed with Garrett McNamara for like 20 years over there.
Okay.
From when he was like boyfriend, girlfriend with his ex-wife to where, I came in a couple years later, they're married, a couple years later, they have 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid. And like went through the whole cycle of hanging out with him for 20 years at least.
Wow, he's still doing some really good stuff over there.
Yeah, no, he's
charging. He's charging Nazare.
Well, he's just I don't even know. He got pretty hurt at Mavericks like what was almost like 10 years ago. He got pretty fucked up there and like kind of set him back, kind of like knocked some sense into him somewhat. But he definitely like it clicked with this whole like his whole spiel. He's got that 100-foot wave HBO docu-series now.
Yeah.
I think they just finished season 2 maybe, and they like just got they got the go ahead for like season 3. He's like sponsored by
Mercedes-Benz and
Mercedes-Benz, and he's flying all over the world. It's just like he's kind of I don't know. He's funny because half of his spiel is like, be green and this and that, and there he is jet setting and jet skis. Like he barely paddles in the waves. It's just funny. Garrett, I love you.
Yeah,
you're nuts though.
Guy just interviewed him.
Guy Kawasaki did. Well, it's cool because I know he was involved in. Nelly was telling me helping get stuff to Maui too, and it's cool.
But that's Liam.
Oh, Liam, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Liam's definitely he's a little bit more grounded.
Yeah, Liam is balled out. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. Now, actually, that's containers getting ready to roll. Nellie's
So
container.
speaking of Nelly, they had the Ryder Cup, which is a golf tournament on TV this weekend in Europe against the United States of America. This is for Nelly's. So Nelly and I had a bet. If whoever lost had to caddy for the person that won. So I won.
He has to be
So
your
caddy. Yeah, so I got the big pro bag with every single club, umbrella, ball retriever.
Couple rocks in the bottom.
About 80 balls, all my rain gear, right? And he can't walk, no cart. And we're gonna go play Spring Hills in Watsonville, where you gotta be it's like
you gotta be a goat.
You gotta be a fucking goat.
So bad.
He's like, no, Neil, we can't go play there. I mean, we're playing there. I get the call.
Oh, man.
If I lost, you'd be telling me what to do.
Right.
So you'll get the call. So pick the fucking bag up.
Did it happen?
Oh, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You better hurry up.
Oh God.
Before he leaves town.
He's hiding.
He's gonna
He's hiding.
dog you on that
Yeah.
one. You know
Don't
it.
hide, Nelly.
And plus now he knows.
Yeah.
that you
Don't
put a bunch of
hide.
rocks in the bottom of your bag.
It's supposed to be 90 degrees tomorrow. You should do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm proud of you, Nelly, for getting that Maui stuff organized. Cause
He
good
deserves a
job.
round of
I went
applause
up
for
there.
that.
I went up there and saw it. Bay Photo. Larry's collected all that stuff. The owner of Bay Photo, and it's a lot of. There must be 100 surfboards and 100 skateboards and it's
that's
incredible.
good.
Fishing gear.
I saw fishing gear and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of
that's
fishing
good.
gear. Speaking of fishing, that's a good source of your daily life right now, right?
Yeah.
You've been fishing a long time. You commercial fish off your sport boat.
Yep.
How's it go?
Good.
Yeah?
No.
I know we don't like talking about fishing because we don't want anyone to know how good it is, right?
No, it's I don't know. Like I just last year I got a salmon permit for my boat. Got to fish like one full season. I fished other people's boats, a handful of years, and finally I get my own permit on my own boat. Get to keep all the money. Get to do everything, all my call, my whole deal. After the first season, so this season they canceled the season.
Yeah.
So pretty shitty.
And how was there any federal assistance for that?
I guess they approved a declaration of like a natural disaster. So that declaration ends up going to Congress, like, apparently, and then they vote on it, whether it gets approved to like funding to go out. So the only other time it's happened in the history of the whole salmon world is in 2008 and 2009.
Yeah. Right.
Why did they cancel season? Because was it something to do with the whales? Or?
No, it had to do with just the declining. The drought was a big factor. Declining and returning salmon numbers.
Did the salmon numbers change once it's after the rains?
I mean, in theory, last year could have really helped it out. Right. But that'll be 3 years off at least.
It takes 3 years for those fish to
yeah.
It's what happens is the baby salmon don't live well in warm water.
Right.
And so when the water's shallow and it's 100 degrees in the valley, they basically get poached.
Yeah.
And so there's always been a tug of war between agriculture and the ocean. Yeah. And a couple of years back, the federal government said, "Hey, farmers, take it." And now it's
So just fuck the fishermen and they gave the whole thing to the farmers?
Basically, they allot so much water to like the Central Valley agriculture. So it's like mainly it's the nut farmers. It's the almonds and
because like an almond tree takes God knows how many gallons of
pistachios,
right?
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing is they claim that like their technology, they're way more efficient water usage wise than they ever have been, which is true, but they also have added like 200,000 acres in the last X amount of years. Right. So yeah, they're being more efficient. They're using the water more efficiently and they're managing it better, but they're also adding so much more land that they're growing stuff. Absolutely. So they're using more water.
Yeah.
But there's we're building the largest reservoir in California right now, up in Calusa. So hopefully, I mean, we got to be able to figure out a way to collect more water.
Yeah,
that's I think the trick.
Yeah.
And so because
there's
more people,
not just for us, but this generation here is going to need water. Yeah, we have water, but how much this generation right here needs to have water?
Well, the salmon
and the generation after that.
Plus, salmon are such an important part of the circle of life of the ocean. You
for
you just
sure.
pull that off the table.
Right.
Well, there's a bunch of other stuff that falls over behind it,
Yeah.
and that's what I think.
It's
is
it's definitely there's like a huge trickle down theory effect that happens. So like with the nut farmers, this is an interesting one. California grows, I want to think it's 80% of the world's almonds.
Yes.
And they export almost 80% of those overseas.
China and Japan.
So it's like we're growing all this food, using all these resources
Yeah,
for somewhere else,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
which it's kind of backwards. So it's like all the lobbyists are getting paid by the farmers, and the farmers all band together. So it's just
Yeah,
it's
conglomerate.
like it's a conglomerate. So it's
Right.
like it's really hard to fight those people because
yeah,
they've
yeah.
got such deep pockets.
Right.
So the easiest target to neglect and to take advantage of is a fisherman, because the fishermen are like, look at the numbers of salmon permits that there are on the West Coast. There's not that many. Even though each boat that fishes salmon contributes all kinds of money, and that trickle down goes to buyers and stores and restaurants and the whole thing. So that, there's like 100,000 jobs that are local
Yeah.
that are all affected.
Right.
So
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really the salmon thing, and the problem is salmon can't talk. If salmon could talk and they were getting poached in the rivers, they'd be protesting in Sacramento.
Of course.
But and they're out of sight, out of mind. That's
Right.
the other thing.
Yeah.
So they're underwater, they're out of sight, out of mind. They don't believe the counts, the farmers. They're like, that count's not correct.
Yeah.
So
Well, the other part of it is the general population is, they have no idea that, there's fresh salmon at Costco. Fresh from where? Some pond somewhere, at farm raised. It's not the same.
dumpster in Canada.
It's not the same, and people just don't understand the
Right.
difference. And the people that do, they're wise to it, but those people, the numbers are so few that the impact isn't there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it trickles on. Suddenly the salmon. These guys have to make a living, so then they're all fishing halibut.
Yeah, that's what happened this year.
Yeah. So then now the halibut.
The halibut market. So because of that, the sport, because of all the commercial guys, the guys on skiffs or whatever, and the sport guys, okay, usually like the guys from out of town or wherever they come from, the weekend comes, they all go out salmon fishing. They get their 2 fish 2 days a week, and then they're cool.
Right.
Well, now you hold that back from them. They have this boat that's their baby,
Yeah.
and they want to go enjoy what they put their money into and go catch something. Well, the only thing to do is go catch halibut.
Yeah.
So they came in with like an emergency declaration and changed the sport limit from 3 to 2, because they could see the writing on the wall was this more and more halibut being taken to make up for the lack of salmon.
And that's
Yeah.
the boats you see along the beach.
Yeah.
Like when you're just people who don't know.
Yeah.
When you're just driving down West Coast or East Coast, you see all those boats all on, within a quarter mile of the
Yeah.
beach.
Yeah.
Or half mile. That's what they're fishing for.
Right.
Is halibut.
And then commercially, you have all those guys that typically would be like chasing salmon up around the coast, which is a better dollar value. The days that you could go catch 20 salmon outweigh the days that you go get 20 halibut. You get those big number of days of halibut, but they're fewer and further in between. Salmon are dumb fish. Halibut, you have to be smart. It takes a lot more finesse and a lot more skill. Salmon, you could see a sport guy that doesn't know shit. He goes out and gets his 2 fish. If there's fish there, they bite whatever. They're like pretty easy fish to target. So you get all those guys that can't go catch salmon now. Well, they still have to make $1.
You're gonna
So they
right.
go catch more halibut. The supply outweighs the demand, and then all of a sudden you can't sell your halibut because they just don't want to buy anymore.
Yeah.
And
It's
then the
saturated.
price drops.
Right.
So it saturates the market.
It's saturated. Right.
It's
when
crazy.
they want to start paying you $3 a pound for whole halibut, but they're still selling fillets for $24.99.
Would you change what you do? Would you? Are you still enjoy being a fisherman? And
I still like it because it's like it gives me the opportunity to like have my own schedule.
Right.
Like the money's not as good as if I did
whatever.
all kinds of other things.
You
I
could be a
doing.
surf teacher.
But
You
what
could be a surf school teacher.
Yeah, I could be do surf lessons, or I could be a surf coach and try to tell some rich parents that if they give me enough money, I'll make their kid Kelly Slater.
Well, plus you're on the water.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
My
is I'm
favorite
on the
time
water.
is
Yeah, you're on the water, yeah.
Yeah, my whole life I've made a living out of being on the water.
Yeah,
So
can't
like
beat that.
I haven't done it since like the spring, but I captain a whale watching boat too. So it's like, or I'm working in the boatyard. The boatyard, it's all things that like revolve around kind of the same ocean,
Lifestyle.
and it's just something that like clicked with me.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a cut and pay and be
You don't have dry.
doing, doing something that I enjoy
Yeah.
than than the opposite.
You love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of me,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is just having the opportunity to like leave the harbor and, do I go left, straight, or right today?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
There's something about
Yeah.
turning off the engine
Right.
and it just goes quiet,
Yeah.
and you drop a line over and it's just incredible, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to
It's
do.
just it's a freedom, and like every day at the office is a different.
Yeah. You never have the same day twice. You never.
No,
It's
no,
different
like,
every day.
Even if you try to duplicate it, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
Have you heard anything about this feature in salmon? Because I heard it might be a 3-year deal.
I
don't
heard
know.
for sure not next year.
Not for sure, not
Yeah,
next year.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
and then potentially 2025.
this one that's back on.
That's what they're hoping for.
That's rough.
But I
Does
don't
he
know.
like
We'll
to
see.
fish?
We'll see. Like you just never know. It's just like
Yeah.
when they closed the abalone fishery south of the San Francisco, like they did.
Yeah.
Everyone thought, oh, let's give it a couple of years. It'll, they'll open it back up.
They
That
did.
was 20 years ago. They
Right.
never did.
Right.
So just whatever 4 years ago, they closed it statewide, and it seemed like, oh, we're just going to close it for a year or 2
Yeah,
years,
so it
and
comes
blah
back.
blah blah.
Yeah.
And once they take stuff, they rarely give it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the salmon thing, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see.
Did your boy go fishing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did last year.
Like
we did
fish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
last year. I took him out for like his first full day of
What's the biggest?
trolling for salmon.
What's the
So
biggest-
we fished down
biggest
in
fish-
Monterey, and he did put in 8 hours and caught a bunch of fish, and
What's the biggest fish you caught?
he was good.
Biggest?
I'm not sure.
Salmon,
Probably halibut.
halibut.
Yeah.
Halibut.
The most money we made though was fishing salmon.
Yeah.
You mentioned about like how hard it is to catch halibut.
Right.
There's nothing that pisses me off than fishing next to Rat Boy.
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
son of a bitch, man. I got the same bait and the same hook, and his rods are popping off everywhere, and I'm just watching
Not
him.
getting a bite.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
so there is
There's a god. There's a god.
there is totally a halibut god, and when you meet that guy and he approves, man, you
Do you
really
yell?
can-
You yell at him? You
It's not even worth yelling at him. It's
You
like
just
same
try-
shit, different day. He's good, and it's
Yeah,
fun to
he's-
see that.
he's
you know?
really good.
Yeah, they know. It's not to give away any secrets, but there's spots, and as you collect those spots,
And as you said, there's different technique for catching different fish.
There is, and there's some people that have just sold their soul to the devil and catch way more fish than other people. And Rat Boy's one of them.
he is one of them. He's
Yeah.
good.
Like literally the last day I fished halibut was what's today, Tuesday? Monday before last, a week ago. I went out to heard a report of bluefin out at the Fingers. Went out there, drove around for a couple hours. Paul Meltzer was out there, a couple, Bob Obert was out there, a couple other boats, Alex, NC Alex. They didn't see anything, nothing, just dead. So I came in, I'm like, all right, well, I know there's fish, halibut, like inside on the beach. So I go in there and there's Rat Boy. First drift, 5 minutes, I catch a fish. I'm like, cool, all right, that's a good sign. Never got another bite. I saw Rat Boy catch like 15 fish. And the next, seriously, at least 15 fish.
Neil,
And
it's
the
not
next-
How far
and
away
the-
from you? How far are you away from?
Far enough I could like read his lips and
Right.
like
Yeah.
close. you know, and you know, we're kind of doing this, so like
Right.
he's not in the same spot the whole time. You know, I'll
Right.
go here and he'll go there, and like it didn't matter where he was, he's catching fish, and I wasn't. After 2 hours of that, I'm like, fuck this, I hate this, and I left. He had like 400 pounds that day,
Yeah.
and I got one fish, but he'd been there all day. But still, seeing him catch
That's
at least 15 fish to my one, I'm like, I hate this.
And he's sneaky too. He doesn't want you to see, so he has this little gap. He slides over the rail, like it's just like it's easy.
Well, there's no one
Cagey.
around
Yeah,
that
no,
day.
he is. But he's cagey when there's
He
boats
can
around.
be, yeah. No, I mean, I'm the same. Like, if it's the same 3 or 4 guys fishing in a spot and some yahoo's driving by and you hook a fish and it's sitting there,
Let it hang.
you just sit there and put it in the rod holder and
Yeah.
like,
Me, when I catch one, I'm fucking dancing around.
I know you are.
Yeah, I'm like, I got one. But I'm not commercial, so I don't have to. You know, I'm not trying to scare off people for my little honey hole.
yeah.
And that's
Your
the
wife
fun.
got, your wife's got the net.
Oh, she just hooks them and hands it to me. She's a rat boy. But that's the funny thing about the skiff the crew here is that
Yeah.
they're pretty. I mean, they all are what Josh's life is. They pretty much all of them
Like,
spent
they're
their life
holding
on the
they held
water.
the aces up the sleeve.
Well, for sure, but you know there's a healthy mosquito fleet here
Yeah,
in
for
Santa
sure.
Cruz, and it's a bunch of good dudes, and pretty much they all get along, and they've all spent their time surfing and fishing here in Santa Cruz,
Yeah.
and I enjoy seeing those dudes.
yeah.
And I love just parking right in the middle of all of them and having them yell at me and shit. It's
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
you know.
got
It's-
it.
it's great. And so to me, that's it's fun to see you guys out there doing that.
Yeah. I mean, we're blessed to be able to obviously live here and have the opportunity to like do that for a living. And I'm smart enough to like not put all my eggs in one basket, you know, like running the whale watching boat or working in the boatyard. It's like if you think you're going to catch halibut and make enough money to live all year, you're tripping, especially with how expensive it is here.
Yeah.
And fuel now.
And fuel and
Yeah.
just the whole thing, you know, shitty prices, too many fish, not enough fish, days that are good, days that are bad. It's just like it's like a game of averages.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's like, you know, in November, it's like that's definitely dried up. The weather's too shitty to go look at whales.
Right.
So it's like I'm busting my knuckles working on boats.
Yeah.
But you know, when it comes down to it, like the thing that I always think about is like the beauty of it is anywhere there's an ocean, I could figure out how to make a living.
Yeah.
and eat.
If there's an ocean, there's a boat. If there's a boat, I could drive it, I could work on it,
Fix
I could
it,
fish
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool, and like I've never envisioned myself living anywhere that there's not an ocean.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I
an
know.
hour is like, that's almost pushing it an hour away.
Did you crab?
I have for like I did 2 years, 2 seasons, and that was like 2018. I was fucking an old person then. That shit is no joke.
Brutal.
No joke.
Crab.
Crab.
Pain in the ass.
It's fucking it's for young people.
Is
For
it?
super young people.
Yeah.
Or it's for old people that are in the wheelhouse.
That tell young
driving
people
the
what
boat.
to do.
Yeah.
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 It's first it's dangerous, and secondly it's heavy equipment. You're
Yeah.
yanking on stuff constantly.
Yeah, it's just big,
swinging
heavy-
around the boat.
Big heavy stuff that wants to hurt you.
Yeah.
And at least around here, like
And the profit margin, is not enough to make you want to go do it.
no, I mean you know the first 2 weeks are great. You know
Right.
you're making a couple grand every day you go,
Yeah,
and then
oh, you
all of a
are?
sudden
Okay.
you know 2 weeks into it, all the fleet mops up the majority of the crab, and
Right.
all of a sudden it's like cool. Now I've worked 10 hours for $600.
Yeah.
Okay, now I work 12 hours for
300.
375, and then all of a sudden it's just like cool. I just made $150 and worked all fucking day.
Yeah, that's not worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
And then you're back to the averages.
Yeah.
You know, the average ends up being, you know, $400 a day.
and that's what they cut short because of the whales.
Yeah.
So now,
Oh,
and
right.
so that's beginning to happen too.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
the whale now
And
they're
then they just make that harder. You know, it's the same thing as like the salmon. You know, all of a sudden, like they're starting the season later. They're ending it earlier. Now there's, you know, now the last year they imposed like a half stack, so you could only use half of your crab traps that you paid to use all of them, right? You paid a premium to be able to fish 300 traps or 500 traps. Then they're saying, well, you can only use half of that because
After you've paid for the whole amount?
you pay for the whole amount.
And
It's
you-
yours. You own that, right? But they want to limit the amount of gear that you can fish because of the entanglement issue.
Right.
Now they want to do buoy releases or something.
Yeah, so now
too,
they're
and-
saying ropeless gear.
Yeah.
Which is like a whole nother ball game of, these guys have to like retrofit everything or buy all new gear.
And my thought on that, Josh, was what it is. I think it's a timed buoy, right?
It is. It's a
Yeah,
time
it's
buoy.
time buoy. It releases on its own. It comes up the whales won't run across the gear is the plan.
I mean,
But what if the pot lands upside down?
so it's like a daisy chain. So they have a buoy here and a buoy there, and all the traps are all connected.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So, in theory, because there's so many of those traps, if one of them lands upside down, well, that one just won't fish, right? And if it's not the end, the buoy will still pop up on one side.
Gotcha.
And the thing with that is everyone has to know where everyone else's gear is. Otherwise, you'll throw stuff on top of other people and
Giant
nothing's going to come up.
cluster. Yeah.
So they're going to incorporate an app that everyone knows where everyone's stuff is. So when you drop it, it sets a GPS waypoint, and those waypoints are available to everyone.
That's good to know. It's kind of like you want to talk about some angry fishermen. Talk about where you put your gear next to somebody else's.
Oh,
gear.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, that's the thing, it's like if you didn't know, then you could just lace other people's gear, and
Crisscross them.
it's just a big
Yeah.
clusterfuck of tangled.
You don't have
gear.
that. Yeah. So if you don't have that app in the future, you're.
No, I mean it's going to be mandatory,
Right.
right?
Oh,
Because the feds want to know where your gear is,
Right.
just like the other crabbers want to know. So
Well,
the
some of
cool-
these crab guys have miles of gear. You'll
Yeah.
see 100 buoys for
Right.
for
Yeah.
miles.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Crazy.
crabbing's wild.
So that like brings up the whole whale thing, because I'm like double dipping like commercial fish, but I'm also a whale dude. So like guys are like, oh, you could get like different attitudes about it. You go, you're blowing it for everyone. I'm like, dude, I'm just seeing the writing on the wall. Like crabbing is.
You're taking care of New Bruno.
I am, but like I would see both sides, and I'm not ignorant to either one. I see like that's important, and the whale thing, it's like it's a value for people to make money, and
Tourism.
well, the whole thing, tourism, everything. It's like, it's an important piece of the pie,
Yeah.
but guaranteed 95% of the people that run those whale watching boats are ex-fishermen that just
Yeah.
like got driven out by regulations out
Yeah.
of their industry,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, I know how to run boats and I understand the ocean and I like doing this because it's just what makes me happy and this is what I know. So it doesn't matter if you're going to catch a fish or going to catch a whale.
Yeah.
The whales are, it's the same theory. You're hunting to go see something, you're hunting to go club something in the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most of the whale captains, they're on the side of like the fishermen, and
Because they
it's-
were.
because they were,
Yeah.
and it's like they still have that as part of them.
Instinct.
And they'll call bullshit on the whole, the whales are getting entangled and they're just killing them. They're not killing them. Like the amount of interactions with like whale entanglements and crab gear is so far and few in between,
Right.
that they really blow it out of proportion.
Yeah.
And that comes back to the same thing as like the big agriculture takes all the water, messes up the salmon, but the easiest target is the fishermen. They're gonna side with the big agriculture.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the whale entanglement. It's not the fishermen that are decimating whales. It's the shipping. The shipping.
Yeah.
The
Ship strikes
the-
are gigantic.
The cargo ships.
Cargo ships.
They're going 25 knots, and there's thousands of them.
Right.
And those things wouldn't feel a 30-ton whale if
No.
they
No.
don't.
There was one that came in San Francisco Bay, they have bulbous bows. They had
The
a
thing was
whale-
draped over.
Yeah,
right?
a whale draped over the bulbous bow coming in the bay.
Shit.
But so the eco people aren't going to go after the shipping companies because they run the world,
Right.
and they're multi-billion-billion-dollar companies.
Right.
So they're not going to stand a chance trying to say anything to them because they're just going to get shot down. So the easiest target is the fisherman. Oh, let's point the fisherman. Point the finger at the fisherman.
You guys are the crumbs. They're easy to sweep them.
No, totally.
Push
And it's
around.
not a good. It's not a good lobby. You know,
No,
they're
you're
not,
not-
they're not-
it's
it's not a
wasted-
pharmaceutical lobby.
No.
It's a fisherman lobby is very small, and they're also the fishermen aren't the best at being organized. They barely talk to each other. You know,
Yeah.
so that's another problem that they have.
Yeah.
So it's a really
And even
interesting
if they're to
dynamic.
organize, they're still such a small. They're a crumb,
Small,
like you said.
yeah.
They're such a small piece of the puzzle that
Yeah.
like their impact is going to be nil.
Right.
But the people who are all sad about whales sure love their crab.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's
They'll tell you they don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
But-
so, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, and I feel like you being in that industry are almost like the last of the Mohicans, you know, because there's, you know, they made all the commercial fishermen put new engines in their boats. You know, that was a huge ordeal. They're buying back permits. They're just trying to slowly make it smaller.
Starve you. Yeah, till
You
it's
know,
just
so
finally.
Do
you
the
throw
goalposts
towel.
get moved a lot? Like seems like
Oh,
the
yeah.
goalposts get
Yeah.
moved a lot.
Yeah, never ending.
Right.
Well, they just closed rockfish.
Right.
Because of the quillback, a fish
Mm-hmm.
that I know guys that like. DJ Zach has been a deckhand for 20 years, right? He
Yeah.
finally just started working at Hansa's at H&H, and
How many quillbacks did he catch all those
two
years?
in his life.
Yeah.
Thousands of days deckhanding, doing rockfish trips. He's seen 2 of them.
I've never seen one.
I don't even know what they look like.
Yeah, I've never caught a quillback.
They're like a rockfish that's more common in like Northern California, kind of, and then mainly like Oregon and Washington. And supposedly they're threatened, and for whatever reason they think that they're killing a bunch of them down here.
So they closed rockfish.
So they closed
So
rockfish.
they closed.
Which goes back to our original story, is that, so now what are they going to fish for?
Yeah.
Halibut.
Halibut.
Yeah, it just gets to be, but they just move pressure around and shut things as they move the pressure around.
And then they wonder why the next set of whatever is still available gets into trouble. You know,
Yeah. Because
if they say
it's saturated with
say you can't drink tequila and you can't drink vodka and you can't drink this, that, and that, you could only drink whiskey. Everyone starts drinking whiskey, and then
Right.
they're like, "Oh, well, the problem was whiskey." Well, wait, no, the problem is you stopped everything else. So
Right,
that's
yeah.
the only thing that alternative.
We're cutting down too many trees for oak barrels or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a never-ending story.
Well, I think this is the best fish talk we've had on the show. Absolutely. And it's really interesting to get your perspective because, like you said, you're running a whale watching boat. You're a commercial fisherman. You work in the boatyard, and you also live here locally. And you have a pretty good view of what's going on.
I mean, I see it all, and I kind of like, I'm smart enough to not pick sides. I just kind of like see what's true and what's not, and weed out the bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that it comes around. You know, if that's all we can hope for. I hope that water, if we have rain, and I hope that, you know, we continually don't drain the delta and kill our smolts so that we can get a salmon fishery again. Because what you were saying, the money that trickles through from,
Yeah,
from
it's
Todd at Bayside Marine, from
Yeah.
the guys who buy boats that have to get them tuned up for the beginning of the
I
season.
mean, the guys at the hotels here, the
absolutely.
local restaurants
The
here, you
fuel.
know, all those guys, it's not just the restaurants that are selling salmon, it's the restaurants that are serving people that come to fish salmon.
Absolutely. That fill up the harbor parking lot and keep the harbor.
Yeah.
It's
you know,
fuel, it's
yeah.
just like everything you could think of.
It is absolutely incredible. And state of California, if we're not buying boats, the sales tax and the DMV registration, they don't get any of that either. So it's pretty well.
But even though it's like you have there's such a wave of laws coming at you, it seems like it just seems like this huge. You still enjoy it, you still love it, and you're still swimming literally swimming upstream.
Well, you kind of like holding ground.
Right, holding ground. Okay.
I haven't turned downhill yet.
downstream. Yeah.
haven't rolled over yet.
No, and I haven't rolled over. I had a couple of years before that happened.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Maybe
I've got a pretty big lure in front of me to like
Yeah.
Yeah.
to chase, to stay focused on.
Yeah.
Well, you look healthy. You look great.
Thank you.
Always,
It's good to see you.
always appreciating having Josh Loya here. I will always say this, and I say it all the time. Josh had the best off the lip of anybody in this town. And I will say it to the grave that
Thank you.
no one does it better than you, my
Thank you.
friend. So,
That's quite a statement right there.
I'm dead serious. Josh, when I was in my 20s, Josh's surfing ability was off the charts. That's why he traveled the world.
Josh,
That's why
did-
he made finals at Coldwater.
Before you finish, did you ever yell at him when he's surfing? Did you never?
No,
yell
he's
at
an older
him?
guy.
Yeah,
Older
he,
guy.
Yeah, he didn't yell at me. Yeah,
No.
Yeah,
yeah,
older guy.
yeah. Thanks for doing that. Too. I appreciate that.
That was a different generation where you didn't yell at older guys.
Right.
It's just like it wasn't cool. I mean, there was some goofballs that got yelled at that were older, but all the people that you like had to show respect to, you did that.
Yeah.
You know why? There wasn't cell phones.
No.
There wasn't
Cameras.
surf cams.
There was
No,
Yeah,
there
you
was
know, you
there was
took a
angry-
lump.
There was angry old guys that would zip your suit down, dunk you, break your fins out, take your leash off, paddle your board way out there, let it go, and then you had to pull your zipper up, swim out there, and get your board paddled
Your
in
broken board.
with broken fins.
Right.
Yeah, that's just how life was.
Yeah.
You know?
And you might get slapped too, you know?
Yeah.
And so respect was something that you really had to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the pre 2000s of surfing in Santa
Yeah.
Cruz for sure. Very important time.
Now
So-
most of the scary guys are like either dead
Yeah, they're not around anymore. right?
or they're just like
Not scary anymore.
underground and it's a lost art.
Remember VC when we came on the show? Remember VC? He just turned this big pussy cat, didn't he?
Remember BC
When he came on the show.
He talked about when he took the bat down and hit the guy with the bat and stuff.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, oh God, BC, we're talking about this on the radio? Well, he was the master of it. So,
Yeah.
Josh, thanks for coming on the show.
All right,
It's
thanks for
always
having
great
me.
to catch up and see you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Neil, next week I think we're gonna maybe take a week off. Possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll
We got
see.
Buell
See what's going
coming
on.
up. We'll be
Oh
talking.
yeah, we got stuff.
But we'll be talking to
Tune in.
Buell soon, yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow.
Yep.
Every podcast platform
Well,
on the planet, and
Website, blah,
yeah.
blah,
Thanks
blah.
for tuning in, folks, and we will
Thank
see you
young man.
soon.
Thank
Yes,
you for sticking around. Have you
very
done?
patient Grom you have.
Great
Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.